name is Marian, and this is
Louis.
Kaylin.
Kania.
Rainy.
Okay, so the struggle to live in Cuba grew larger over the years. If one had a family, it was very hard to buy food for everyone to be able to eat. There was no food or not enough. Many people hated when Fidel Castro was in power because he limited food and activities that people could do or buy. There were many problems with the economy, politics, and the society in general. Life as a Cuban was a big struggle. Economical life in Cuba was a very big struggle for those who did not have a business and for those who lived off of stealing. Marta Alonso shares some of her life experiences of when she was growing up in Cuba. The life of a family in Cuba was very poor, having to work a lot to try to have something, but at the end it was very little or nothing at all. This shows a life experience of a person who was born in Cuba and lived there for 56 years. It is impossible to make a living in Cuba, however, the struggle that people have to face daily to survive are horrific. To find and have a basic everyday necessities that are necessary for a comfortable lifestyle are very challenging. The schools did not have all the conditions that were necessary, the conditions that we wanted or needed as kids. School life was very poor. The buildings did not and do not have air conditioning. If some kids were lucky, they would have a class that had windows and full roofs. Other kids in other classrooms had ceilings with holes and were unfortunate because they would most likely get wet when it rained or had to get sunburns when it was 100 degrees outside. Another person born and raised in Cuba is Kenia Ibanez, who also shares some of her life experiences or ideas about certain situations in Cuba. Many people study for many years and they push themselves to succeed, and yes, they receive a diploma or certificate, but the money does not compare to the career they go into. Kenya explains how many people try to become someone in such a poor country and they can't even do that. Kenya gives the example that if someone becomes a doctor, then that person has to get another job because being a doctor to be able to put food on the table is not enough. Many people who do not study and go into business, such as selling clothing or food, tend to make way more money than those who actually choose the college path. There are many laws in Cuba that provoke people from being able to fully express themselves, and this usually causes some of the Cubans to want to leave Cuba. In reality, there is no freedom of speech in Cuba. If they hear you talking about something that they don't like, then you may have many consequences, such as being arrested. Many Cubans have to live in fear for what they say. Just one slip of wrongful gossip about the government can cause many people problems. The military system in Cuba is forced. It is 2 years of someone's life that is wasted when maybe that person wants to be studying or making money to help their families. Although many people have to go to serve their unfair country, many people do it because they want to. There is a huge chunk of people in Cuba that believe that Fidel Castro and his brother Raul Castro did is right. I believe that people should be able to vote for who they want to be president. In Cuba, people are not allowed to vote for who they want to be president. This shows a lack of contribution to the people because the government does not allow them to vote. If people in Cuba were allowed to vote, then their president and situations might be different today. Many of the Cubans who wanted to immigrate to the United States of America were treated very poorly by other Cubans. The Cubans who immigrated from Cuba suffered a lot and were mistreated from other Cubans because of different points of views. Some examples of the different ways that the Cubans were mistreated was by being beaten, eggs were being thrown at their houses, people having to hide because of the fear of being beaten or killed, and some Cubans were even imprisoned for trying to leave Cuba on a boat. Life in Cuba is an everyday struggle. Life is lived in fear daily, if not fear of the government, then fear for other people. To conclude, economic life had people committing crimes and quitting school in order to survive. Politics was a topic that many people feared and were not able to voice their opinions about, and other Cubans were judged and mistreated for being against Castro.
I'll be changed.